बोलिए वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय। श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की जय। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर् गुरुर्देवः सदाशिवः न गुरोरधिकं कश्चित् त्रिषु लोकेषु विद्यते। रामं रत्नकिरीटकुण्डलयुतं केयूरहारान्वितं सीतालङ्कृतवामभागममलं सिंहासनस्थं विभुं सुग्रीवादिहरीश्वरैः सुरगणैः संसेव्यमानं सदा विश्वामित्रपराशरादिमुनिभिः संस्तूयमानं भजे। नमः कमलनाभाय नमः कमलमालिने नमः कमलपादाय नमस्ते कमलेक्षण यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तग्वंह देवमात्म बुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। Dear devotees of God and Gurudev, let's now chant जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की, जय सीता सुकुमार की। 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 जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की, जय सीता राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सिया राम सरकार की जय लक्ष्मण राज दुलार की
जय सिया राम सरकार की जय लक्ष्मण राज दुलार की
जय सिया राम सरकार की जय लक्ष्मण राज दुलार की
जय सिया राम सरकार की जय लक्ष्मण राज दुलार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र दरबार की जय 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 पवन कुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय 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 पवन कुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र दरबार की जय 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 पवन कुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र दरबार की जय 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 पवन कुमार की
जय 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 पवन कुमार की
जय 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 पवन कुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राम लक्ष्मण जानकी जय सुधा रूप रस खान के
जय राम लक्ष्मण जानकी जय सुधा रूप रस खान की
जय राम लक्ष्मण जानकी जय सुधा रूप रस खान के
जय राम लक्ष्मण जानकी जय सुधा रूप रस खान की
जय सुधा रूप रस खान की
जय सुधा रूप रस खान की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय 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 राजा राम की जय, प्रेम रूप रस धाम की
जय 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 राजा राम की जय, प्रेम रूप रस धाम की
जय 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 राजा राम की जय, प्रेम रूप रस धाम की
जय 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 राजा राम की जय, प्रेम रूप रस धाम की
जय, प्रेम रूप रस धाम की
जय, प्रेम रूप रस धाम की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय 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 राजा राम की जय, श्रृंगबेरपुर धाम की
जय 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 राजा राम की जय, श्रृंगबेरपुर धाम की
जय 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 राजा राम की जय, श्रृंगबेरपुर धाम की
जय 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 राजा राम की जय, श्रृंगबेरपुर धाम की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय 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 सीताराम की जय, केवट रति अभिराम की
जय 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 सीता राम की जय, केवट रति अभिराम की
जय, केवट रति अभिराम की
जय, केवट रति अभिराम की
जय 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 सीताराम की जय, केवट रति अभिराम की
जय 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 सीता राम की जय, केवट रति अभिराम की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय, सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार
सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय 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 सीताराम की जय गंगा की जलधार की
जय जय सीताराम की जय गंगा की जलधार की
जय गंगा के जलधार की
जय गंगा की जलधार की
जय 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 सीताराम की जय गंगा के जलधार की
जय 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 सीताराम की जय गंगा की जलधार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार 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 की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
जय राघवेंद्र सरकार की जय सीता सुकुमार की
कीर्तन is भजु गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला. Let's do Roop Dhyan as we glorify our sweet Lord, who is known as Ram, Krishna, Ananta Nama Rupaya, Vishnave. He has countless names, infinite forms. So let's fill our hearts with love as we call out to Him. भज गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला भज
गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला मोर मुकुट मुरली वाला
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 भज गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला कर लकुटी गल बनमाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला करलकुटी गलवनमाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला कर लकुटी गल बनमाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला करलकुटी गलवनमाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
भज गोपाला 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 ललित त्रिभंगी नंदलाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला ललित त्रिभंगी नंदलाला
जय जय ललित त्रिभंगी नंदलाला
जय जय ललित त्रिभंगी नंदलाला
भज गोपाला 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 चल अलमस्त चाल वाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला चल अलमस्त चाल वाला
गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
भज गोपाला 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 गोपाला चरण कमल पायल माला
भज गोपाला गोपाला शरण कमल पायल माला
जय जय चरण कमल पायल माला
जय जय चरण कमल पायल वाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला चपल दृगंचल दृगवाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला शबल दृगन चल दृगवाला
जय जय चपल दृगंचल दृगवाला
जय जय चपल दृगन चल दृगवाला
जय जय गोपाला भज गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला मनमोहत सब ब्रज बाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला मन मोहत सब ब्रजमाला
गोपाला गोपाला सतचित सुख घन तनवाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला सतचित सुख घन तनवाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला ओ गोपाला गोपाला सुख को सुख देने वाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला सुख को सुख देने वाला
भज गोपाला गोपाला जगत पिता बने नंद लाला जगत पिता बने नंद लाला।
जगत पिता बने नंद लाला।
भज गोपाला गोपाला गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला।
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 जय जय 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 गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला।
भज गोपाला गोपाला 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 गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला।
गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला।
गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला।
बोलिए वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय। श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की जय। Devotional listeners, now I request that you turn your cell phones off, and I request also your full attention. Ram Navami is coming up, and we all want to hear about and talk about Bhagwan Shri Ram. So my topic is Ram and Ramayan. Who is Ram? Well, we all know who Ram is, but scriptures tell us the exact definition of Ram. Ra shabdo vishwavachano mashvapishwara vachakah vishwanamishwaro yohi tena Ramah prakirtitah. The word Ram is made of two syllables, Ra and Ma. Ra means the universe. Ma means the ruler, the controller, the governor. Hence, Ram is the supreme Lord who creates, protects, and nourishes, as well as destroys infinite universes. He is Ram. Every name of God has a specific meaning attached to it. For instance, Krishna means one who forcibly attracts the heart. Every name of God has a meaning behind it. Durga means one who destroys all inauspiciousness and gives auspiciousness. So Ram means one who creates, protects, and destroys infinite universes. Scriptures further tell us about Bhagwan Shri Ram. Ramante yogino nante nityanande chidatmani. Ram is the Supreme Personality, says Ram Tapani Upanishad. Ram is the Supreme Personality meditated upon by yogis and great Paramhansas who are self-contented. They are self-contented. They don't think about anything else. They don't know anything else. They don't see, hear, taste, touch, smell, think, or know anything else, but they meditate upon Bhagwan Shri Ram. So the scriptures give us definition of the name Ram. We wish to know more and more about Bhagwan Shri Ram, and the only way we can know about him is through his loving devotees, pure devotees, not sadhaks, not the ones who are aspiring devotees, for they are like us. We wish to know about Bhagwan Shri Ram, and we need to go to the divine devotees, the pure devotees of Bhagwan Shri Ram. There is a very unique personality. His name is Sage Valmiki. He has written the story of Ramayan in Sanskrit, and that scripture of his is known as Valmiki Ramayan. Ramayan by Valmiki. Valmiki is a very intriguing personality because in one single lifetime, he went from being the worst sinner to the greatest personality. That one example in our Hindu history where someone has gone from being a murderer, a highway robber, and a murderer to being a saint who wrote the story of Bhagwan Shri Ram even before Bhagwan Shri Ram descended to earth. Before he became Valmiki, he was a Ratnakar, and he was a daku, a dacoit, and a murderer. He would look out for people, travelers, and he would kill them. He would sneak up on them, he would kill them, rob them of all their possessions, and he would dump their body in the well. And he did this day in and day out. He had a family. He was married, so he had a wife, he had his elderly parents that he was taking care of, and he had a couple of children. One day his great sanskars came to the forefront, and he happened to come across Sage Narad. Sage Narad met him and said, "My good man, what are you doing? You're committing so many sins. You're committing so many murders. For what? Do you not know that every action has a reaction?" Ratnakar Daku said, "No. I need to kill these people. I need to rob them because I have myself and my family to support. But do you not know that avashyameva bhoktavyam kritam karma shubhashubham? That every action, good or bad, will bear fruit one day." Ratnakar said, "Even if that is true, I am satisfied that my family members will help me, so I won't have to suffer too much. We will share and share alike, just like we share food and drink. In the same way, we'll share my sins, as you call them." Sage Narad asked him, "Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm positive. My mother loves me more than life. My father adores me. I'm the apple of his eye. And my wife, well, I am her universe. My children, they worship the ground I walk upon." Naradji said, "Why don't you go home and ask them?" And Ratnakar said, "You're a clever one. You're sending me home to ask my family members this question, and in the meantime, you'll run away." Naradji said, "You can tie me up." And he did. Ratnakar tied sage Narad, and think about who Naradji is. Narasyedam naram naram dyati iti naradaha. Narad means the one who destroys ignorance of the entire humankind. He is a partial manifestation of Bhagwan. He's not just a saint, although being a saint means he's the same as God, but he is a partial manifestation of God. So Ratnakar tied Naradji to a tree and went home very sure of himself. He asked his mother, "Will you share in my sins? Because I have been killing a lot of people, and that's how I have supported you and everyone in the family. Will you share in my sins?" She said, "Beta, I don't know what you are doing, but as for me, I have never killed a single fly. I don't even kill flies, I just chase them out. I've never killed a mosquito or a fly. I cannot bear the burden of your sins." He asked his father, and the father said the same thing, but he had great hopes in his wife. And she said, "Dear husband, your duty is to provide for me and the children. It doesn't matter how you do it, but if you have been committing all these murders, then I have nothing to do with them." But Ratnakar was crushed. He became so disillusioned. He was thinking that his family members would die for him, but they were not what he thought them to be. So he became very detached from the world very quickly. His world was his immediate family members. So in a state of daze, he went back to Narad Muni, untied him, and started to cry. He said, "I have committed so many sins. What will become of me? My family is not going to help me." Narad Muni said, "You can atone for your sins." How? Naradji said, "Chant the glorious name, the pious name of Ram. Chant Ram, 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 Ram." Ratnakar tried, but he could not utter the holy name of Ram. You see, his sins were so great that he was not allowed to utter the holy name. Naradji thought, now what? But he said, "Never mind. You are accustomed to saying Mara, Mara, Mara. If you say Ram inversely, it becomes Mara, Mara, Mara. So you are accustomed to killing people. Why don't you just chant Mara, Mara, Mara? And you'll end up saying Ram, Ram anyway. Mara, 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 Ram, 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 right? And keep on chanting this until I come back." Well, Ratnakar Daku, he decided to have full faith in the words of Narad Muni. He accepted Narad Muni to be his guru, and he started to follow the instruction of his guru. He sat down. Naradji said, "Keep on chanting until I come back," and he kept doing that. It was many, many years before Naradji came back. Now, in all these years, Ratnakar Daku did not eat anything. He didn't drink water. All his bodily functions came to a standstill. He didn't rest. He didn't lie down. Didn't take naps. He didn't sleep. Nothing. He just chanted, Mara, 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 Mara. Termites infested his body, but he did not die. His breath was still going on. He was still breathing, and after many, many years, when Naradji came back, he saw that Ratnakar's body was infested with termites. So he named Ratnakar Valmiki, the house of termites, the abode of termites. That's what Valmiki means. And he granted Ratnakar God realization, and now Valmiki is God realized. Ratnakar was a sinner, now he is Valmiki, and he is a saint. He has the same powers as God, he has the same knowledge as God, everything is the same. Narad ji has said in his greatest of all scriptures, Narad Bhakti Darshan, Tasmin Stajjane Bheda Bhavat. There is no bhed, there is no difference between Tasmin and Tajjane, between God and His saints, the ones who surrender fully to Him. So now Valmiki ji is able to write the Ramayana, the story of the divine story, the divine katha of Bhagwan Shri Ram, before Bhagwan Shri Ram descends to earth. That great Valmiki, we bow down to him mentally and we pray to him to tell us about Bhagwan Shri Ram. And he says something very, very surprising. He says in his Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, Loke nahi savidyet yo na ram manuvratah. There is no living being who was not, or who is not, or who will not be in the future, fully surrendered to Bhagwan Shri Ram. Every living creature, not only human beings, but every living being is eternally surrendered to Bhagwan Shri Ram. And we think when we read this, when we hear this, that, well, he is a great sage, he is a great saint, but I don't understand his words. Because if we place our hand on our hearts and we truthfully think about this, we will say to ourselves, well, I am surrendered to Bhagwan Shri Ram, but I'm also surrendered to my mother, father, my spouse, my children, my money, my status in society. I'm not exclusively surrendered to Bhagwan Shri Ram. So how is it that Valmiki ji is saying, no, every living creature is an eternal devotee of Bhagwan Shri Ram? There are so many people we see, that we hear about in the world, who have nothing to do with Bhagwan Shri Ram. In fact, they turn their back away from him. They pride themselves on calling themselves atheists. I'm a Gnostic and I'm proud of it. Just as you go to, and we all go to devotional camps, devotional retreats, these people go to their atheistic retreats. Just as we learn and we talk about Bhagwan, we talk about God, they talk about the fact that God does not exist. There are so many of these people. So why does Valmiki ji say what he has said in his Ramayana? It is because Ananta Nama Rupaya Vishnave, God has unlimited names. One of those names is Anand, unlimited and everlasting happiness which increases with every passing moment. Pratikshanam Vardhamanam. Anand is not just happiness, it's happiness that is eternal. It will never be taken away once you have it. It is unlimited, it has no limits, and it increases with every passing moment. Anand is a name of Bhagwan Shri Ram. Anand is a name of God. Jo Anand Sindhu Sukh Rashi Sikarte Trailokya Upasi So Sukh Dham Ram Asnama Akhil Lok Dayak Vishrama. We are most familiar with Tulsi Krit Ramayan, otherwise known as Ramcharit Manas. So in Ramcharit Manas, Tulsidas ji says that Bhagwan Ram is Sukh Dhama. He is the abode of bliss, abode of happiness. In other words, Bhagwan Ram is where happiness lives. Sometimes we say God has happiness in him. Jagat Guru Shri Kripalu ji Maharaj, our beloved Guru Dev, says, no, that's not the right way of saying it. Because if God has happiness in him, then it means that God and happiness are two separate entities. And if God has happiness in him, it means that God, if you take happiness away from God, then God is empty, shallow, hollow. God is happiness. This is what the Ramayana says. This is what the Vedas say. Anando brahmeti vyajanat. Raso vaisaha. Rasagvam hyevayam labdhva nandi bhavati. Taittiriya Upanishad. And let me mention here that whatever is in the Vedas, that is also in the Ramayana. The Vedas are difficult to understand language-wise. Very few people know Sanskrit. And the Vedic Sanskrit is the highest form of Sanskrit. So what is in the Vedas has been said in the Ramayana in a very easy to understand language, in Hindi, and mixture of Hindi and Awadhi. Very, very familiar, very familiar language. So Tulsidas ji has said in his Ramayana that God is, Bhagwan Shri Ram, is the abode of happiness. And every living creature is a slave of happiness. Every living being is surrendered to the search for happiness. Every single moment, we are searching for nothing but happiness. If you see even a little creature, a little ant scurrying around, going somewhere in a hurry, and you think, where is this ant going? What are you doing, little creature? What are you in a hurry for? If the ant could talk, if it had the intelligence to explain it, that ant would say, well, I'm looking for happiness. But you're looking for a grain of sugar. I know. That sugar, from the sugar, I want happiness. You see a bigger creature, an elephant, it's rolling around in the mud. Why are you doing that? Again, if the elephant could talk, it would say, I want happiness by rolling around in the mud. It's a very nice feeling that I want the touch, cooling touch of the mud. If you ask a deer, why are you so desirous of music? Deer are very, very attracted to music, and hunters use that in to their advantage, and they trap the deer. So the deer would say, well, I like to hear the music. I want to attain happiness through music. A fish takes the bait. Why are you doing that? That'll be the end of you. The fisherman wants to bring you out of the water. You will die. But the fish would say, I'm looking for that worm on the end of the hook because I want happiness. Every creature, even plants and trees, are searching for happiness all the time. Through the 5 senses of sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch. We humans are certainly looking for happiness. We are searching for happiness, which means that we are searching for Bhagwan Shri Ram. And we'll keep on searching for him until we attain him. We'll keep on looking for that happiness until we find it. Once we find it, we will not look for anything else. Saint Tulsidas, Surdas, Mirabai, Kabir Das, Narsi Mehta, all these saints. Once they attain God, they don't look for anything else. They are always living in unlimited happiness and everlasting happiness. Nothing phases them, nothing disturbs them, because now they have the happiness that they had been seeking for infinite lifetimes. Now there's nothing left to work for. So they work for the benefit, for the welfare of worldly people like ourselves, like us. So Valmiki ji says that we are searching for Bhagwan Shri Ram, and that is because we are searching for happiness, and happiness and Ram are one and the same. But we are like little children. We will say, I'm looking for happiness, but we will not admit that we're looking for Bhagwan Shri Ram. It's like a little child when you ask him, do you love your daddy? And he says, yes, I love my daddy. Do you love your mother's husband? Who's that? I don't know. No, I don't love him. That innocent, naive child doesn't know that his mother's husband is the same as his father. So he says he loves his daddy, but he does not love his mother's husband. In the same way, we readily admit that we are searching for happiness, but we do not admit that we are searching for Bhagwan Shri Ram. This is why we need to listen to those who love Bhagwan Shri Ram, those saints who love him. We want to find out about Bhagwan Shri Ram, and we want to know what they are saying and what they are saying about Bhagwan Shri Ram and how to attain Bhagwan Shri Ram. How to attain God. Bhagwan Shri Ram descends to earth. He assumes a form and he performs divine pastimes, leelas. Vyapak Brahma Niranjana. Vyapak Brahma Niranjana. He is Vyapak. He is all-pervading, but he is laying in the lap of his mother, Kaushalya. Kaushalya ke god. He is omnipresent, but to help us fall in love with him, he descends to earth and he stays in one place. We see him in one place. He is laying in Yashoda, in Kaushalya's lap. He is Brahma. Brahma means the one who is the biggest. Jagat Guru Shri Kripalu ji Maharaj says in one of his scriptures, Bhakti Shatak, Brahma brihatvat as bada, jako adi na ant, bada bringhanatvat as auran kare anant. Brahma means the one who is the biggest. Brahma brihatvat, from the scriptures, Brahma brihatvat as bada, jako adi na ant. He has no beginning, no end. And he is the biggest. But that Brahma, when we see him as Bhagwan Shri Ram, we say he's 6 feet tall. He's not the biggest. We become confused when he descends to earth. We become confused and we say, no, he can't be God. Brahma, he is Vyapaka Brahma, and he is, the Chaupai from the Ramayana says that he is Niranjana. He does not form any attachment. But we see him crying for his mother. And when Kaushalya picks him up, he becomes very happy. And Bhagwan Shri Ram, when he gets married, and then we know the entire story, then Sita Mata comes into his life, and then there is 14-year exile. So during the exile, when Ravan kidnaps Mother Sita, then Bhagwan Ram's grief knows no end. He is very much attached. We see that. He khag mrig he madhukar shreni, tum dekhi Sita mrignani. He's asking birds like the crows. He's asking creatures of the forest like the deer. He's asking the honeybees, have you seen my doe-eyed Sita anywhere? Lachiman samujhaye bahubhanti, puchat chale lata tarupati, ehi vidhi vilpat. He is grieving to such an extent that he is asking creatures of the forest, he's asking mountains, he's asking trees, have you seen my Sita anywhere? He's so restless. He's so restless that he asks Lakshman. This is the dialogue between Bhagwan Shri Ram and Lakshman. Ko ham bruhi sakhe swayam sa bhagavan arya Sako Raghava Ke yuyam vat nath nath kimidam dasosmi te Lakshmanah Kantare kimihasmahe vadasakhe devya gatir mrigyate Ka Devi janakadhiraj tanaya ha janaki kwasi ha. Valmiki Ramayana. Bhagwan Ram asked Lakshman, who am I? Koham. Main kaun hu? Who am I? Lakshman ji says, but Maharaj, you are Bhagwan. You are the Supreme Lord. You are the prince of the Raghu dynasty. Raghav. You are Raghav. Oh, I see. So I am Raghav. But who are you? Ke yuyam? Tum kaun ho? Who are you? Maharaj, I'm your humble servant by the name Lakshman. Lakshman has to remind Bhagwan Ram of his name and who he is, and he has to remind him of who he is. I am your humble servant, Lakshman. I see. Lakshman, tell me one thing. Tell me one more thing. What are we doing here in the jungles? You said that I'm a prince and I belong to the Raghu dynasty. Then if we are princes, then what are we doing here in the jungles? My Lord, we are searching for Devi ji. Devya gatir mrigyate. We're searching for Devi ji. And Bhagwan Ram is puzzled. He said, which Devi ji? Which Devi? Maharaj, Janaki ji. The daughter of King Janak, we are searching for her. And Bhagwan Sri Ram remembers all of a sudden. And he says, Ha Janaki. Oh Janaki. And he grieves so much that he falls down, becomes unconscious. This is the state of Bhagwan Sri Ram. Due to separation from Mother Sita. Re vriksha parvatastha girigahanalata vayu na vijyamana ramoham vyakulatma dasharath tanaya shoka shukrena dagdha bimboshthi charunetri suvipula jaghana badhanagendra kanchi ha sita kena nita mam hridayagata ko bhavan kena drishta. Valmiki Ramayana. So we read about this in the Valmiki Ramayana, but we actually experienced this when Bhagwan Ram was here on earth. We know that we have lived infinite life, we have lived countless lives. So when Bhagwan Ram descends to earth, then we see him. We have seen him. He hasn't come only once. He comes in every Treta Yuga. Every age of Treta, he is here on earth. And every time he lives here, he stays here for 11,000 years. Think of time in the form of a circle, in the shape of a circle. There is no beginning, no middle, no end. So it's an eternal cycle. Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapar Yug, Kali Yug, Sat Treta Dwapar Kali, Sat Treta Dwapar Kali. Every Treta Yug, Bhagwan Ram descends to earth. We have seen him countless times. But when we saw him like this. He's grieving so much. He doesn't know where he's going. It's night time and he says to Lakshman, Lakshman, oh, the sun is burning me. It's so hot. Lakshmanji said, but Lord, it's night time. It's not the sun, it's the moon. It's the cooling rays of the moon, not the hot rays of the sun. Lakshman, can you prove that's the moon? I think it's the sun. Maharaj, see the black mark in the moon? That's the deer. That is a legend, that there's a deer in the moon. Mrig. And as soon as he hears the word mrig or deer, Bhagwan Ram thinks of Mother Sita, who has the beautiful eyes of a doe, a female deer. And he says, oh, where is my doe-eyed Sita? whose face is like the beautiful moon, and he falls down unconscious. We saw all this, and we said, my goodness, what a worldly man. I mean, if your wife goes missing, you don't ask creatures of the forest, you don't ask honeybees, you don't ask mountains, you don't ask trees. This man is extremely attached to his wife. And the scriptures say he is Niranjan. He does not form any attachment. When he comes down to earth, he performs human pastimes. Prakrit nar anurup, just like a human, he performs human pastimes. Bhakt hetu Bhagavan Prabhu Ram dhare utanu bhoop kiye charit pavan param prakrit nar anurup. For our benefit, for the benefit of the world, he performs earthly pastimes, but we become confused, and this is why we need to learn from the saints, the true devotees of Bhagwan, Shri Ram. We will continue with the topic, but let's chant Hare Ram for some time. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram,
कृष्ण हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम राम हरे हरे
Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Hare Rama,
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
बोलिए सियावर रामचंद्र की जय. When Bhagwan Shri Ram descends to earth, then everything about him turns upside down. He is Vyapak, he's omnipresent, but he's seen in one place at one time. He is Brahm, he's the biggest of all, but we see him as a very small child. We see him as being very small. He is Niranjan, he does not form any attachments, and we see him being very attached to his mother, then later on to his wife. So this confuses us. He performs earthly pastimes, but when he comes down to earth, he brings along with him many of his devotees, pure devotees. Some of them play the parts of those who love him, and there are others who perform the parts of those who are his enemies. And it's a wonderful thing I should say it's a surprising thing that many people are surprised by this, that those who are here, who came with him as his enemies, who opposed him, who fought with him, who wanted to kill him, they are his great devotees. The biggest enemy of Bhagwan Ram is no doubt Ravan. But Ravan is saying, and this is in the Adhyatma Ramayana, this is another Ramayana, another version of Bhagwan Ram's story. Itham vichintya khila rakshasendro Ramam viditva parameshwaram harim virodha buddhyaiva harim prayami drutam na bhaktya Bhagavan prasidet. Ravan is saying, I am opposing my Lord Ram because by opposing him, I will be killed by him and I will attain liberation very quickly. Every time Bhagwan kills someone, he sends that person, and that has to be a devotee who's killed by Bhagwan, because not just everyone is deserving of being killed at his hands. So when he kills someone, he sends that person to his divine kingdom. So when Bhagwan Shri Ram killed Ravan, Ravan said mentally, my Lord, I am leaving now. You will stay here for a few thousand years more, but I am going now to your abode, Saket Lok, and when you come there, I shall welcome you. I shall roll out the red carpet for you. So Ravan is recognizing Bhagwan Shri Ram. He recognizes him and he says, I am deliberately opposing him. I am in the body of a Rakshas. I cannot be attaching my mind to him with feelings of love and adoration, so I shall attach my mind to him with feelings of hatred and enmity. This is what Ravan did. We all know that. And he got such a bad reputation that no one is willing to name their son Ravan. Actually, I did find somebody who named, I thought that's a very evolved person who has named their son Ravan. And sometimes when little children, you ask them, you want to be in the Ram Leela? You want to enact the pastimes of Bhagwan Shri Ram? You want to play a part? Oh yes, I want to play Ravan, because they want to be the bad guy. Ravan was not a bad guy at all. He was a great devotee of Bhagwan Shri Ram who is willing to get a bad reputation forever and ever, because everyone will know that he was an enemy of Bhagwan Shri Ram. But he recognizes Bhagwan and he does so, and he fights with Bhagwan Ram according to the script that Bhagwan Ram has given him. You play the part of my enemy. Yes, sir. As my Lord, I shall do that. Kumbhakaran is another one who is pretending to be, who's playing the role of an enemy, but he is in fact a great devotee. He is warning his brother Ravan. Purvameva maya prokto Ramo Narayana Parah Sita Chayoga Mayeti Bodhito Pina Buddhyase. Bhaiya, I have told you already, Purvameva Maya Prokto, you know this already, that Bhagwan, Ram is Bhagwan, he is a Supreme Lord, and Sita is Yogamaya. Bodhito Pina Buddhyase. You know this, but you pretend not to know. This is what Kumbhakaran is saying. Kumbhakaran, the one who sleeps for 6 months. That Kumbhakaran, brother of Ravan, is telling Ravan, don't fight with Bhagwan Shri Ram. Don't seek enmity with him. You know who he is. But Ravan does not listen. And Kumbhakaran says, I am going out to battlefield. Ab bhariyank bhetu mohi bhai लोचन सुफल करा मैं जाई श्याम गात सरसी रुह लोचन देखो जाहि त्राप त्रय मोचन. Tulsiकृत Ramayana. Kumbhakaran says, Bhaiya, embrace me and wish me well. Embrace me. But I am so happy that I am going to have darshan of Bhagwan Shri Ram. He's going out to the battlefield and he knows he will not come back. He will die at the hands of Bhagwan Shri Ram. He will die. And he's saying, embrace me. I'm so happy that I'm going to have the darshan of Bhagwan Shri Ram. And then Ravan tells Marich, I want you to assume the form of a golden deer. And he gave Marich the instruction to go to where Ram and Sita are. Sita will see you as a golden deer. She will be attracted. She will ask Ram. And the whole plot was devised. Marich also knows who Bhagwan Ram is. And he's also very happy. Oh, I am going to see Bhagwan Shri Ram. He knows that if he says no to Ravan, Ravan will kill him. Marich is not Ravan's brother, like Kumbhakaran, who can say to him, look, don't seek enmity with Ram, you know who he is. Ravan would say, don't give me a lecture about who Ram is. Ravan may even kill him. So he knows that if he refuses to go on this mission, Ravan will kill him. If he goes on the mission, then Ram will kill him. So he thinks it's better that I be killed by my Prabhu Shri Ram. So Marich is again very, very happy going on this mission because he knows who Bhagwan Shri Ram is. So these Rakshas, these Asurs, these demons, these enemies of Bhagwan Shri Ram are in fact great, great devotees of Bhagwan. They know who he is, they recognize who he is, and they are only playing the parts that they have been given to play during Ram Leela, during the pastimes of Bhagwan Shri Ram. Our mission in life is to know God, to love God, and to reach God. There is no duty, no responsibility bigger than this. To know God, to love God, and to reach God. And we are at the very first step, that is to know God. Who is Ram? If we don't know who Ram is, if we don't know his glory, if we don't know the beauty of Bhagwan Shri Ram, then we cannot love him. In the Ramayana, there is a very nice sequence being told to us. Jane binu na hoi partiti, binu partiti hoi nahi preeti. Knowledge leads to faith, faith leads to love. Jane binu na hoi partiti. Partiti means Vishwas, Shraddha, faith. If you don't know who God is, if you don't know anything about him, you can't have faith in him. If you don't have faith in him, you cannot love him. Binu paratiti hohi nahi preeti. We often hear, sometimes we hear stories of two friends, and people always said they work together, and people always say to them, you know, you look like brothers. And they laugh it off. Oh, we're good friends, we're not brothers. And then they know each other, and they're not best friends, but they're casual friends. However, one day they find out that they are brothers, that they were both adopted by different people. Now they know that they're brothers. Now they look at each other with love. Earlier, they were looking at each other as fellow co-workers and casual friends. But now when they look at each other, it's with a look of love. That's my brother. That's my brother. My own brother, my flesh and blood. There's so much love in the heart. In the same way, if we know who Ram is, there will be so much love for him in the heart. That's why we need to talk about Bhagwan Shri Ram. We need to learn about Bhagwan Shri Ram. We need to sing the glories of Bhagwan Shri Ram. After all, Ram Navami is coming, and we need to be prepared. Our heart needs to be prepared. So with the grace of Jagat Guru Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj, who has given the world so much knowledge, as much knowledge as we want to accept. He has given so much knowledge to us about Bhagwan Shri Ram, about God in general. With the grace of Shri Maharaj Ji, I have started this topic of Ram and Ramayana. And there are so many topics that are coming up. One topic leads to the next. So our next topic of discussion will be, well, how can I know Ram? How can I know him? Because my mind is so small, my mind is so limited that I cannot know him who is infinite. I cannot know him who is divine using my material mind. There are many, many reasons that our scriptures give us that prove to us that we simply cannot know who Bhagwan Sri Ram is. We cannot know him. And we become concerned because without knowing him, we can't have faith in him. Without faith, we cannot love him. We will not then fulfill the mission, the ultimate aim of our life. So we need to know how to attain Bhagwan Sri Ram. What does Jagat Guru Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj tell us? How does he enlighten us? What are the answers that he gives to us? I will leave that topic for tomorrow. बोलिए श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की जय, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय. जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे.